Hello and welcome to a new program. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. I'm glad to see that you're watching this program more often because you and me together, we're going to create a symbiosis that will transcend so many different objectives. And of course, you will improve your English mientras tanto. In the meantime, you will be improving your English simply by watching. Simply by watching. Y puedo decir lo mismo quitando el by. Simply watching. Simplemente viendo este programa, sin prestar demasiada atención, incluso, dos formas, simply watching or simply by watching. El by, ¿por qué lo insertamos? Pues es casi como decir mediante el visionado. Simply by watching this program, your English will improve. It will penetrate through your pores, los poros del cuerpo, and you will assimilate the language without realizing it. But that requires that you spend a lot of time in front of the TV, watching me and watching other colleagues of mine here on Aprende Inglés TV. This is the only 24-hour-a-day television channel in the world designed to improve you. This is an educational channel. This channel is not for entertainment, although we try to entertain at the same time as we educate. This channel is giving you something very valuable. This channel is giving you something that is worth a lot. It's not only entertainment and relaxation, but it's education of the mind and giving you tools, herramientas, to help you in the future. So and I don't want any criticisms, okay? Nada de críticas, because this is free, you're not paying. And you have an expression in Spanish, a caballo regalado no se le mira el diente. And in English, we have the same expression. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So if you don't like this show, just switch to another channel. That's fine, but don't criticize it because it's free. The only cost is your time, okay? Which is valuable, I imagine. But knowing English is even more valuable, in my opinion, than your time, okay? And if you spend your time improving your English, it is time well spent. Okay, now I have two lovely ladies whom I think you know, whom, con M al final, whom I think you know, because they've been here before. I think this is their second time with me. Mercedes, am I right? How are you?
Yeah, you're right. I'm fine, thank you.
And Susana, hello.
Hello.
By the way, bring me the camera. Just before the start of the program, they had a fight. Yeah. And they said, I want to sit there. And she said, I want to sit there. This is my good side. This is my bad side. And I said, don't move. You'll stay there. But after the break, in about 22 or 23 minutes, okay, we'll switch, okay? We'll give Mercedes the chance to sit on my left, and we'll give Susana the opportunity or the chance to sit on my right, so we can avoid fights. That's what you call a Solomonic decision. Okay? Do you agree, Susana?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you complain before the program?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay. Now, ask me if there was a civil war in Italy last century.
Was there a civil war in Italy last century?
Well, last century was the 20th century, of course. Not formally, there wasn't, but really there was. Because the late years of Mussolini, the last 6-7 years of Mussolini, especially the ones that coincided with the Second World War, the divisions in Italy were so great, and there was so much violence and so many problems that some people consider it almost the equivalent of a civil war. But no, there wasn't formally a civil war in Italy last century. Ask me if there was a civil war the century before.
Was there a civil war the century before?
Yes and no. Italy didn't exist as a country a century before until about 1865 or 1870. After Garibaldi and his troops, they united it under Victor Emmanuel to create what is Italy, okay? And that is often considered a civil war, but it was a war of unification, all right? So in my opinion, personally, there wasn't a civil war in the 19th century in Italy. Ask me if there was a civil war in the United States in the 19th century.
Was there a civil war in the United States in the 19th century?
Yes, there was. Ask me how long it lasted.
How long did it last?
Good. Repeat.
How long did it last?
Did he or
Did
it?
it?
Did it.
Did it? How long did it last?
Es que la forma en que has dicho didi suena a did he. Él, un hombre. How long did it last? For example, ¿cuánto tiempo duró Pepe en ese trabajo? ¿Cuánto tiempo duró él? How long did he last? How long did he last? Did he? Do a diddy diddy dum diddy do. How long did he last? Now, tratándose de una guerra civil, how long did it, como hacen las ranas, did it. How long did it last? How long did it last?
How long did it last? Did it?
Did it? All right, how long did it last? It lasted 4.5 years. Tell Mercedes, ask me when it started.
Ask him when it started.
When it,
When it started.
tengo que trabajarte el
It.
it.
When did it start?
It started in 1861. Tell her to ask me when it ended.
Ask him when it ended.
When did it end?
When did he or did it?
Did it? When did it end?
All right, when did it end? Cuando terminó la guerra civil americana? It ended in 1865. Tell her to ask me how many young men died in that conflict.
Ask him how many young men died in that conflict.
How many young men?
Young men?
Young men.
Young.
Young men.
Young
Young
men.
men died in that war.
Okay, 600,000. A lot. Yeah, 600,000. All right, and ask me what the causes of the war were.
What were the causes of the war?
Many, but basically economic. Basically, no. The basic reason for the American Civil War was a decision whether central government or dispersed in a more federal system. And so it was based on who made the decisions concerning economic activity. Washington or the capital of every state, okay? And the slave question was an important question, but it was secondary. Okay, ask me if there was a civil war in Spain in the 19th century.
Was there a civil war in Spain in the 19th century?
Well, there were several civil wars. If you consider the Guerras Carlistas as civil wars, there were several, quite a few. And also the Napoleonic period could be considered a bit like a civil war because there were so many. It was quite a conflictive century, okay? The 19th century in Spain. Okay, ask me if the Virgin Mary is a central figure in the Hindu religion.
Is the Virgin Mary a central figure in the Hindu religion?
No, she's not. She is not a figure at all.
I don't
Que yo sepa?
know that I know of, as far as I know.
As far as I know, she is not a central figure in the Hindu religion, although I have heard rumors that the Virgin Mary died on her way to India. Yeah, have you heard that?
No, haven't.
The most recent, well, rumors, they're not rumors, certain hypotheses, theories, okay, say that between the age of 12 and 29, Jesus of Nazareth was in Kashmir, in the north of India, and that he went there with his mother when he was 12 years old, and she died along the way, okay? And that he spent his years and consolidated his philosophy of life and religion in India. Ask me if I believe that story.
Do you believe that story?
No, I don't. But it could be true. Nobody knows. It could be true. All right? Ask Mercedes if she has heard that story.
Have you heard that story?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. But ask me if the Virgin Mary is a central figure in the Christian religion.
Is the Virgin Mary a central figure in the Christian religion?
Of course she is, yes. She's more important in Catholic. But ask me if the Virgin Mary is an important figure in the Protestant religions, too.
Is the Virgin Mary an important figure in the Protestant religion too?
Yes, she is. Ask me if the Protestants believe in the Immaculate Conception.
Do the Protestants believe in the Immaculate Conception?
According to the Protestant doctrine, yes, of course. Ask me if the Protestants believe in the confession.
Do Protestants believe in confession?
Yes, they do. But not through a priest. It's direct with
Directly.
God. Most Protestant denominations believe it's between you and God, okay? Ask you if the Protestants believe in the resurrection.
Do the Protestants believe in the resurrection?
Yes, they do. They believe in the resurrection. Okay. Ask me if the Protestants believe in eternal life.
Do the Protestant believe in Protestants believe in the eternal
In eternal?
in eternal life?
Yes, they do. It's all the same. But really, basically, the beliefs are the same between the different religions. All right. Ask me what language the people speak in South Africa.
What language do people in South Africa speak?
All right. They speak English and Afrikaans and maybe Zulu. I don't know, Zulu language. I don't know. But basically English and Afrikaans. And ask me what Afrikaans is.
What's an African?
No, what is Afrikaans?
What is Afrikaans? Okay.
It's a language that combines English, Dutch, and German, basically. Okay, I think. I'm not an expert. But I think Dutch and German predominate in that language. Okay? Ask me what people speak Afrikaans.
What people speak Afrikaans?
A lot of people in South Africa, especially in the north, in Transvaal, in the north of South Africa, who were originally Dutch. Okay? And ask me if the Dutch had problems with the English in South Africa.
Did the Dutch have problems with the English? Did the Dutch have problems with the English in South Africa?
Yes, they did. Ask me if there was a war.
Was there a war?
Yes, there was. Ask me when the war took place.
When did the war take place? When did the war take place?
I think it took place at the end of the 19th century. Ask me how long it lasted.
How long did it last?
I think it lasted 2 years, but I'm not sure. Ask me what famous person was involved in that war.
What famous person was involved in that war?
Konuve,
Involved in that war?
Masuve.
Involved.
In that war. Involved.
Involved.
Mira, los dientes las
Involved.
enseño. Involved.
Involved.
What famous person? Winston Churchill. Yes. Ask me if he was famous before that war.
Was he famous before that war?
No, he wasn't. Ask me if he became famous during that war.
Did he become famous?
¿Cómo?
Did he become famous after that war?
During and after, yes, he became famous. Ask me why.
Why did he become famous? Why did he become famous?
All right. He became famous because he escaped from a Boer prison in a very interesting way. All right, and he became famous because of it. Ask me how old he was at that time.
How old was he at that time?
Around 20 years old. He was very young, or 22, 23. Okay, ask me do you remember you don't remember that war?
No.
Have you ever heard of La Guerra de los Boers?
No.
The Boers War?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it was a strong war between the Dutch settlers, colonizadores, and the English settlers in South Africa. And ask me who won the war.
Who won the war?
The Dutch. The English, sorry, the English. The English won the war. Okay, ask me if I will make $1 million before the end of this month.
Will you make?
$1 million?
Okay. Will you make $1 million before the end of this month?
No, I won't. My God. Not before the end of the year either, okay? Ask me if I have ever made $1 million in 1 year.
Have you ever made $1 million in one day?
In 1 day? No, never, never,
In
never.
1 day?
No.
1 year.
In 1 year.
Too late. Ask me if I've ever made $1 million in 1 year.
Have you ever made $1 million in 1 year?
No, never. Not yet, not yet. Who knows, maybe someday. All right, and ask me if I've ever made $100,000 in 1 year.
Have you ever made $100,000 in 1 year?
Well, now, with the dollar so cheap compared to the euros, yes. But if the dollar were at a correct parity, no. I've never made 100,000 euros in 1 year. But now, ask me how much 100,000 euros is in dollars.
How much is $100,000 in
Euros.
euros?
First, euros and dollars.
Yes. $100,000 in euros. How much is it?
$100,000 in euros is about 66,000 euros. Ask me if the parity is completely out of line.
Is the parity completely out of line?
Yes, it is. Ask me if everything is cheap in the United States now.
Is everything cheap in the United States now?
If you have euros in your pocket, yes. Everything is cheap. Ask Susan if she's ever been to the States.
Have you ever been to the States?
No, I haven't.
Ask her if she would like to go someday.
Would you like to go someday?
Yes, I would.
Ask her what part of the States she would like to visit first?
Which part of the United States?
Prefiero what?
What part of the United States would you like to go?
Well, maybe Rocky Mountains.
The Rocky Mountains. Ask her if she has ever seen the Alps.
Have you ever seen the Alps?
No, I haven't.
Ask her if she has seen the Pyrenees.
Have you seen the Pyrenees?
Yes, I have.
Ask her if she's seen the mountains in Asturias and Cantabria.
Have you seen the mountains in Asturias and Cantabria?
Yes, I have.
Well, then you don't need to go to the Rockies. The Rockies are very beautiful.
Much, much higher.
No, not
No?
well. Higher than the Picos de Europa? Yes. How high are the Picos de Europa? What's the altitude?
It's
You know?
about 2,000,
Oh, I think it's more. Well,
2,600 maybe.
maybe close to 3,000, I
It
think.
rings a bell.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, the Rockies are higher, but yes and no, because the Rockies start at 5,000 feet.
Mhm.
Okay, let's put it into meters. Denver, Colorado is called the Mile High City. The Mile High City.
Mhm.
Because it's exactly, the altitude of Denver is 5,280 feet, and that's exactly 1 mile. All right, now Denver is the beginning of the Rockies, and it's abrupt. Okay? But when you go to Denver, it's flat, like this table, except that it's like this. But you don't notice, but it's continually, from the Mississippi River, 3,000 kilometers before, it's slowly going up, 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 up. And when you reach Denver, 3,000 kilometers away, or 2,500 kilometers away, it's at 1 mile, which is 1,760 yards, which means about 1,600 meters. So, the Rocky Mountains are about 4,000 meters. 4,000 meters, yeah, 4,400 meters perhaps, but it starts at 1,600. So they're high, but they begin from a high place. Now the Picos de Europa, you go to the other side, it's the Bay of Biscay. ¿Cómo se llama el mar Cantábrico?
El Mar Cantábrico?
In English.
The Cantabrian Sea?
No. La Bahía de Vizcaya.
Ah.
The Bay,
The
the Bay of Biscay. The Bay of Biscay. Yes. Now, the Bay of Biscay, of course, is sea level. And if you're in Asturias and you go from sea level, you go up to the top of those picos, it's tremendous, the change.
The change.
So, although the mountains in Asturias are not as high as the Rockies, the abrupt change could be the same, or maybe even more. And it's very impressive. If you go to the States, I would recommend other areas, although the Rockies are very beautiful. I would recommend you go to the deserts of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico. It's very, very beautiful. Also the Northeast, Boston, New York, in that area. New England is very good. Ask her if she's planning to go to the States someday.
Are you planning to go to the States someday?
Yes, I am.
All right, ask her if she's planning to go this year.
Are you planning to go this year?
Well, not this year, next
Ask her
year.
if she would go if I invited her.
Would you go if he invited you?
Of course I would.
Yeah, and ask her if she would like to cross the country in a rented car.
Would you like to cross the country in a rented car?
Yes, I would.
All right, tell her to ask me how long it would take us to cross the United States by car.
Ask him how long would it take you to cross. How long it would take you to cross the country by car?
Yeah,
How long would it take us to cross the country by car?
it would take us probably. Well, it depends on how often we want to stop along the way. But it would take us about 10 days
Only 10 days.
only.
Well, I've heard longer.
Well, it depends on how much you stop. If you want to stop and visit every little museum in every little village,
no.
okay. No. Now, if you want to stop and see Niagara Falls, if you want to spend quality time spending an entire day, it can take 1 month to cross the United
That's
States.
what I heard.
Ask me how long it takes to drive non-stop across the United States.
How long does it take to cross non-stop across the United States?
No me ha gustado to cross across.
Oh.
How long does it take to cross the U.S. non-stop? Repeat.
How long does it take to cross the U.S. non-stop?
If it takes 5 days. 5 days to go from New York to Los Angeles, for example, because people do it often. Ask me why people often cross the United States by car.
Why people?
Why
do people often cross the United States by car?
Because they are paid to do it. Yes. For example, if I live, okay, in the United States there's a lot of mobility. People move. And it's quite common. I mean, probably every day, somebody who lives in San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles, or San Diego, or Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington, on the Pacific coast, probably at least every day, 10 people are moving, only 10, of course, but it's every day to a city on the East Coast, Miami, Atlanta, which is near the coast, or Washington, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, etc.
But because they are transferred.
Yeah, they're transferred by their job
By
or
their
something.
jobs.
And so you have 2 cars. Your family has 2 cars. Okay, good. Now, what they usually do is, of course, all the furniture goes in a moving van. Camión de mudanzas. We say a moving van, como si fuera furgoneta. Moving van. And they fly to the new house they have rented or bought in Boston, New York, etc. And they pay somebody to drive the 2 cars across. And this happens often, every day. At least one person is crossing the United States in order to transport the car itself. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
It's a long way. But for example, imagine, Susana, that you need to move from Madrid to Moscow. Okay? And that you organize the moving of all your furniture into a nice flat in the center of Moscow. And then you personally, you physically will go. All right? You have a car. And you fly. And you tell me, you pay me 500 euros and I'll drive your car to Moscow. Because you don't want to drive so far. How long does it take to drive from Madrid to Moscow?
I don't know.
Probably takes
1
about
month?
4 days. No.
4 days?
To drive from Madrid to Moscow in 4 days.
Well, for you, maybe. Not for me.
Ask me how far I can drive on the first day.
How far can you drive on the first day?
Well, on the first day, I can drive from Madrid to
To Paris.
Perpignan. To Perpignan, for example. No, Paris is a bit too far.
Yeah.
Paris would be 14 or 15 hours. I would drive from here to Perpignan. Ask me where I would go the following day.
Where would you go the following day?
I would go from Perpignan probably to Berlin. Okay? Or maybe that's too far.
It's too
to
far.
Munich. To Munich. To Munich. Ask me where I would go on the third day.
Where would you go to the
On the third.
day?
I would go from Munich or Berlin to Vilnius.
Where is Vilnius?
Vilnius? Where's Vilnius?
Armenia.
You don't know. Armenia? No, Armenia, that's very far south. That's the Caucasus. Ask me where Vilnius is.
What is Vilnius?
Vilnius. Go to Vilnius.
Vilnius.
It's the capital of Lithuania. Okay. And then the final day from Vilnius to
Moscow.
Moscow. I would probably stop in Warsaw, Varsovia. But Vilnius is another 3 hours. I'm probably apurando llega.
Wow.
And then but I think it could be done in 4 days. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Would you like,
if
ask
say
her if she
so.
would like to make that drive.
Mercedes, would you like to make that drive?
Good, repeat please.
Would you like to make that drive?
In 4 days? No.
Okay, good. Would you like,
Would you?
Would you?
Would you? Would you?
Yeah, would you? Would you like to make that? Ask me if I would like to try to do that.
Would you like to try to do that?
Of course I would. I'd love to. All right. Ask me how much time we have left.
How much time do we have left?
We have 1 minute, and then you can switch places, okay? Now, ask me if Napoleon knew how to play rugby.
Did Napoleon know how to play rugby?
I imagine he didn't. Ask me if rugby existed as a sport in Napoleonic times.
Did rugby exist as a sport in Napoleonic times?
No, it
In
didn't.
Napoleon times.
Napoleonic.
Napoleonic times.
Tiempos, en la época napoleónica. No, it didn't. So I imagine he never had the opportunity to play rugby. Besides, he didn't have time. Strange man, Napoleon. Strange man.
Very, very strange.
Yeah. Very interesting person to study. Strange. But we'll talk about, maybe the next hour, we'll talk about Napoleon. We'll be back in just a few minutes, okay? So don't go away. Don't go too far away. Be back as soon as possible, because in 5 minutes, estamos al pie del cañón de nuevo. con el inglés a tope, okay? English elevated to the 10th power in the next half hour. Okay.